You know, I don't know that I would say I have a favorite way to pray, because there's so many different ways to pray for so many different reasons.
My favorite way is to say the divine office, and then I have private prayer. I pray for a lot of people, so I've got a long list of people I pray for.
My favorite way to pray is in my bedroom, where it's quiet, and sometimes I'll have a little music and maybe a candle and just have time with God. Yeah.
One of my favorite ways to pray is with art. When I was a postulant and we were working with clay, and it made me think of that passage from Jeremiah about going down to the potter's house and to see what the potter makes. And it's just that using your hands and the senses of the smell of the clay and the touch of it. I also like praying with paintings that are already done by different artists, and I like praying, thinking about different people when I'm painting myself.
With community.
What is my favorite way to pray?
Yeah.
With my eyes closed and my hands folded.
Just sitting, to just sit and be. Just be mindful of God's presence, but not really thinking about God. Yeah.
I get great consolation in praying with all of the sisters. That's a different kind of prayer. And that consolation is about, we're all in this together. And that consolation is about, I may have just had a fight with somebody in the hall, but we are sitting here with a book in our lap and we're praying to the same God. So at the basic bottom of all things, we're in agreement.
Pray.
My favorite way to pray is with Lexio. I like to get the Bible out and read through the scripture for the day.
Well, I think as Benedictines, we have this blessing of the ebb and flow of work and prayer, work and prayer, work and prayer. So, that's just a given part of our day, and it's become a very important part of my day. But I also have private prayer, Lexio. Sometimes when I'm outdoors and just soaking in the sounds of nature can be very prayerful for me as well.
Thank you.
Great.
My favorite way to pray is with nature. I love to be outdoors. I like to be around animals and birds and just be out in God's creation.
I prefer prayer in a group with the sisters. That would be in reference to praying the divine office.
Alone in the chapel.
And one of the favorite things I like to do is just take a walk with God, especially these beautiful mornings. So it kind of gets me centered in the morning to do that.
Just to talk to God and just to, I don't know what you call it. I know I don't get an answer, but yet I get a satisfaction. And to me, that's the answer.
But I do like when I go outside for walks, that's a time for private prayer for me, a lot of which is gratitude.
Just in being quiet in some place, maybe not necessarily alone, but where we're all quiet and pray.
I would say my favorite way to pray is to look at the scriptures of the day and see what message they might have for me to carry into the day, and then to check if it compares with the homily that's given. And that way. I usually start the night before, do a little more in the morning, take it to Mass.
I like to pray with nature. There was the most beautiful pink dawn this morning. I find my God in nature.
Yeah, I like to go to my room and sit in front of my prayer table and just be quiet and listen and to be still and know that God is here.
Is to I like to pray with music. I like to pray with videos. And I like to pray sometimes when I have a really nice piece on my clarinet. And especially in the chapel. And I can feel it sail.
Really sitting in nature, and sometimes just imagery that comes to me. The thought of life being a journey, and prayer, sometimes the imagery of walking on a path, and what is the path telling me?
I usually pray with scripture. Just the daily scripture that the Mass calls for the day. But I also like to pray with nature, to be outside, if I can do both of them at the same time, that's really good.
Well, let's see. A few years ago, I would have said Lectio and quiet meditation. But as I've aged, I have to quote Sister Jane Klimbich. I sit down for Lectio and I have Laxio because I always fall asleep. So I have found that the energy of the Liturgy of the Hours, and of course as a liturgist, I find that enriching for me now at this point in my life.
My favorite way to pray is by using Lectio and the scriptures.
I realize something that I've always believed. You pray any place. You can pray any place. And I like that notion very much.